Die, 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 die. Welcome to Reclaim Within. I am your host, Ash. My prayer for you is that today you walk away with a deeper trust in your own unfolding and the knowing that fear doesn't mean that you're off your path. It simply means something sacred is asking to be lived through you. Something sacred is inviting you into a deeper relationship with yourself. We are going to dive in to faith over fear. A lot of times, these two expressions, these two verbs, these two experiences are oriented to as if they're opposites, as if the goal is to get so rooted in faith that fear just simply dissolves. As if fear is a sign or a signal that something is wrong or something is wrong with you, with your practice, with your trust, with who you are as a person. And there's this misconception that if you are truly connected to the Creator or truly awakened, that you won't feel fear anymore. And I do not believe that. I have not seen that. I have not experienced that in all of the spiritual studies I've done and all of my mentors, all of the teachers, all of the work I've done. I've never met somebody who doesn't still have some orientation in some way, shape, or form to fear, because it's part of our human experience. It is actually a part of what makes us human. And I do not believe that the story that if you're healed enough or spiritual enough or connected to God enough, that you won't have any fear or that fear won't be there. I don't feel like that storyline is actually serving any of us. I do not believe that fear is a flaw in any way, shape, or form. I actually see fear as really powerful, helpful information. It's the body's ancient intelligence doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is orient you towards what matters, towards what feels uncertain, and towards the edges of your own personal known world. Now, depending on what you've moved through in your life and your own life experiences and the traumatic life experiences that you've had, some of us have gone through things at younger stages in our development that cause us to have a lot of unconscious fear in our systems that we might not fully understand how to work with or how to connect with. And it's a very nuanced, very unique person-to-person orientation. I remember I had someone that I was working with for a while, and they had a lot of this unconscious fear running these young programs in their 40-something-year-old body. And I remember it showed up for them as a lot of anxiety and a lot of need to understand or to control or to be in the know. And the way that we worked with that fear that was really undercurrent is being able to actually accept and address all of these really panicky orientations that the fear was feeding. And the more that you can actually lean into getting to know yourself and getting to know the fear instead of just orienting to try to bypass it, to go beyond it, or to push it away, or just pray it away. Right? The technology of prayer has to include being able to connect with these parts of us that are more uncomfortable. It's almost like the prayer allows us to build the capacity or the container to be able to have the courage to sit with these parts that have more of the discomfort attached to them. Fear in general arises when we believe something is at stake. And something being at stake usually means that you care about it. it usually means that you're alive. So when we orient to fear as the problem, we're actually not seeing what's underneath, what's driving that fear. The problem is when fear becomes the one in the driver's seat and the one making the decisions, which is why I feel like when we can connect to our faith in something greater than us and remember that we are sacred, it's like the guidepost or the container that we need to be able to then allow for us to get curious and come underneath what is this fear trying to share with me? What is it that I am afraid of losing, or that I'm afraid of gaining, or that I'm afraid of being seen in? But we can only get curious if we actually turn towards it with loving compassion. Here's a wild truth. Many people don't even know that they are being run by fears because they have normalized it. When you are operating in a system that is just constantly in that survival orientation, you get to a point where you're normalized inside of those fear-based decisions. Here is how you know that you're being run by fear without actually knowing it. Life starts to feel like constant reactivity. You're grasping for control. You shrink away from risk, and you perceive that you need to defend yourself against things that haven't even happened yet. You stay inside the edges of what's familiar and you call it safety, even if it's slowly suffocating you. Now, I can speak on this because I once lived my life from a very normalized place of this state of being. And I am here to tell you that that is not living. That is not orienting towards life. That is what I would call managing. And then this is where that faith can come in. And I want to be clear, when I say faith, I mean the bone deep knowing that you are held by something greater than yourself, that life is a bigger operating system than you can consciously wrap yourself around, and that you are in surrender or in service to something that is the greater mystery that is all encompassing. The faith that you're being guided and held by whatever you want to call it. You can call it consciousness, you can call it God, you can call it creator, you can call it the universe, you can call it science. I actually don't care what you call it, but there's something bigger than you that you can orient towards. That when life is going through this undercurrent of pulling you and bringing up these base fears, you have the ability to orient to that thing that's greater than you. There's this current of life that's moving underneath all of us, even when you cannot see where it's going, even when you cannot see why it's happening the way it is. Your suffering and your fears are not random, and your becoming is not accidental. To allow for faith to be the container to hold you and to orient you as you build the courage to turn towards your fear, it means that in some real and sacred way, you are in relationship with something larger than your own fear. That is what faith is. So the saying faith over fear literally means orienting to what's greater than the physiological experience of fear that you are having. Faith is not at all the absence of fear. Faith is the unseen forces that allow for you to move anyway. It's the entrepreneur who feels the terror of risking everything and builds it anyways. the person sitting inside of a health crisis who doesn't know what comes next and chooses to stay present and find gratitude anyway. The one who has been broken open by grief and chooses again to love anyway. Courage is not fearlessness. Courage is faith saying, let's go while fear is still talking. The root word of courage is cor, which in Latin means heart. The heart is the seat of your soul. One of the most beautiful ways to allow for yourself to get back into that connection with something bigger than yourself is actually through the body. It's reconnecting with your nervous system so that you can get out of the fight, flight, fawn, or flee. When you orient to your physiological system by actually using the soma to help you reconnect to your heart, it can actually connect you with what is greater than you. So you can do things like, if you're having a lot of overwhelm come up, you can do things like head holds, where you press in on both sides of your head and you hold and you let yourself feel what that feels like to come back into your body. You take some really nice deep breaths. You can do some gentle twisting, help you actually find the center again inside of your body. One of my favorites is to close your eyes and lean your body forward, lean your body back, lean your body from left to right, and do that as many times as you need to find your center again, to literally find your physiological center inside of your body. Feeling your seat on the chair and feeling your shoulders lift and your crown move up towards the sky. It's finding yourself in time and space. That in itself can actually give you enough connection to something greater than you by connecting through the physiological body that it can shift you out of the fear response. Because at the time when you're in a really big fear reaction, there's no logicking you through that. There's no like telling somebody, oh, you're fine. Just don't be afraid. That's not how that works. But if you can connect yourself or help someone else connect back into their body, finding their center again, and actually using the technology of prayer to be like, hey, something greater than me, like whatever that is, thank you for holding me as I'm moving through so much fear right now, as I'm moving through so much upheaval right now. Fear. From my own life and from my own body and from my own journey of becoming, people always tell you the story of what could go wrong. Fear is a master storyteller, and it can be very convincing. And sure, some of what it has to say is totally worth listening to. Some of it is genuine wisdom. The work, however, is to discern the difference between the fear that is protecting you and the fear that is just keeping you small. Faith, having certainty in something much larger than you, helps you make that distinction. Because faith is rooted in something that fear doesn't have access to, which is your deeper knowing, the deeper connection of your soul, of your heart, of your soma, of this vessel that you're in. The part of you that understands, even when the mind goes spinning and spinning and spinning, that you are exactly where you are meant to be, or the part of you that can bring yourself back to your breath, movement, and sound, remember, are the three God-given gifts that we all have in our physical body to shift out of a frequency of panic and fear and overwhelm and anger into a shifted, more neutral, heart-open state. Sound, breath, movement. When you come back to those three things, when your mind is spinning and you do a small somatic practice, or you let yourself sing a song, try to sing a song and have your mind spin at the same time. Try it. It's pretty much impossible. Even just humming shuts the brain spin off. So if you're having a really overwhelming moment and your brain won't turn off, just start singing, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." And see if your brain can keep up the spin while you're singing. So movement, breath, and sound. Box breathing. Deep inhale for 4, hold as long as you can, exhale and hold at the bottom for 4. Do that as many times as you need to actually be able to feel you again, feel your physiology again, feel your heart soften and open again. The amygdala, the reptilian brain, is what goes online when we're afraid, when something scary happens, when we're feeling overwhelmed or triggered. And we shift that using our movement, breath, and sound. And that allows for it to tone down. And then we can get curious. After we've found our center again, then we can get curious of, okay, what was that fear trying to tell me? What am I afraid to lose? What am I afraid to be seen in? What am I not admitting to myself? Where is the guilt or the shame that is running my system right now? When we can learn to use these skills and to find ourselves back into these places of coherence, what happens then is that every single hard moment, even the really big scary ones, when we can learn to reorient ourselves back to coherence inside of even the fearful, big upheaval moments, that's how we remember the sacredness of life. That's how we remember that we are sacred. That's how we connect back into there's something big and beautiful and beyond me that's unfolding. So I gave you some really beautiful quick tips on how you can start to cultivate this. And it really is just a cultivation. It's a practice of choosing faith and reorienting ourselves back to coherence, even when the faith is overpowered by the fear being so damn loud. We have to begin by stopping the war inside of us, because that's really where a lot of people get stuck. Is they think they're upset with the outside world, but the outside world's just a mirror to their inside world. And so it's reclaim within. It's come back to self. We have to stop trying to eradicate the fear inside of us, and instead using our movement, breath, and sound, allowing us to find coherence. And then after that happens, we work on getting curious about it, curious about the fear. We ask the fear, what are you trying to protect? We thank the fear genuinely for caring so much about us. I like teaching metaphors I like to use with my clients in my one-on-one work and in my group work is to bring them back to the fact that if a tiger was chasing you down the street, you would run and you would be afraid, and it would be important that you run, and it would be important that you would be afraid. And that fear is actually just trying to help you connect with keeping your life intact. And that's important. That means you want to live. That means you want to be alive. And I think that's a really important distinction to understand, that we get to actually be in gratitude for our fear. And the goal is to not let the fear be in the driver's seat. So when we actually allow for the fear to be seen, heard, and thanked, we actually then are learning how to let our souls speak. When we allow for ourselves to begin to track ourselves inside of the fear and anxiety, and we practice the movement, breath, and sound, more than our worst case scenarios, more than the noise that comes in. The practice is to use these little tools, and it takes 30 seconds, sometimes longer, but it doesn't usually take that long to actually notice that you're playing out a worst case scenario in your mind, and then take a couple minutes to just pull your shoulders up to your ears and relax them all the way down, and then pull your shoulders up to your ears and then relax them all the way down, and be like, okay, I'm playing out the worst case scenario because I really care. It's actually because I really care about the people that I'm having the worst case scenario about, or I really want things to go well. And then you reorient yourself after the somatic experience to reweaving the story in a different way. Another really beautiful way to work with faith and fear is to find somebody that you can work with. find people in your life that know how to hold space for both your fear and your faith without needing you to perform anything that you don't actually feel, and without them needing to think that they have to come in and fix you. And when we just learn to take small steps towards reorienting ourselves so that that faith and that remembrance and the sacredness of life can be larger than the fear itself, that's all that we need to tip the scale. And we just need to do the next thing that feels the most aligned, and then the next and the next. And each step taken inside of faith, even a trembling one, can rewire something. It teaches the nervous system, the soma, the heart, that moving through fear doesn't have to destroy you, which, especially if you've had really scary or traumatic things happen in your past, it is going to take a little while. You have to be gentle with your somatic system, with your nervous system, because it wants to protect you. And so moving at a really slow, honest pace and just keep coming back to the breath, to the body, to the sound can actually build a new kind of trust in yourself, in life, in the sacred intelligence that is always, always working on your behalf. I'm going to leave you with another little practice that you can come back to anytime the fear starts to take over. So find a space where you can just take 2 minutes to yourself and either lay flat on your back so that your belly is up to the air, or do a wall sit. And I just want you to picture a red balloon inside of your diaphragm. And I want you to fill that red balloon up with all the air. And as you release, I want you to exhale and let that balloon fall, 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 fall. And now I'm going to have you add your hands. So you're going to bring your hands up above the sky as you fill the balloon up with air. And then as you exhale, you bring your hands back down to your side or to the ground. And then I'll have you do a really gentle twist, whether you're on the floor or whether you're in that chair sit on the wall, and bring your hand to the opposite knee and twist, and then go to the other side. And then allow for yourself to just sway really gently, side to side, and just let all of the fear inside of your system know that you are safe. And as you slowly come back to center and stop the sway, see if you can just thank your fears that have shown up at any point or at all points in your life, and thank them for their attempts to keep you safe. Thank them for how much they have shown up for you, even if it's not the way that you maybe would always desire. And if that feels like too much, then just take yourself on a walk. Allow for yourself to do some gentle bouncing, bounce with the knees, put on a beautiful song after this and dance it out, sing, hum, sigh. God gave us all the most amazing regulation tools. We have just completely forgotten how amazing they are and how easily we can use them all the time. It's the absolute best medicine that is at your disposal 24/7, and it costs nothing. It costs you a little bit of time. But honestly, a little bit of time to come back into coherence, what is better? Faith and fear are absolutely not opposites. They are traveling companions on this road of life. They're traveling companions on a life that is fully lived. If you are going to step into anything new, fear will be there. And you get to invite him to be there just right alongside faith. The invitation is not to choose necessarily one over the other, but to let faith be the one that's holding the map. Let faith be the one that's holding the container. And that's where real freedom actually comes from, is having a container large enough to be able to allow for any discomfort, any fear, any scariness to actually just arise and be there, but be held in what is bigger and greater than you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting this creative expression and for joining me in remembering the sacredness of life. I am so deeply grateful for each and every single one of you that are here and taking your time to spend with me today. If you do feel called to go deeper, you can become a paid subscriber over on Substack, and you will receive access to my end of the month live Zoom calls where we will gather and work towards reclaiming within. We go over the last month's podcast episodes and newsletters, and we just have a beautiful open forum. We'll talk about the astrology that's coming up in the next month. And it's just a really beautiful way to be in connection and to be in community around remembering, because we all need each other at the end of the day. We really do. Also, if you become a subscriber over at Substack, you'll be the first to know when the Building Inner Kingdoms course does launch. I am in the middle of working on a revamp of the entire thing. I've taught this course in different versions for the last 5 years now, and I'm working on a way that I can bring it out to more people and be a bit more hands off and hands on at the same time. So we'll see how that goes, and I will let you know when that's up and running. I am so grateful to you and so grateful for you sharing this with your friends and family. I'm so grateful to you for interacting with the content that I share online. That is how I get to share this message to more people. I feel like I have gone through such dark days and I have gone through such hard life experiences, but I know that the reason why I've gone through so much of that is because I've learned how to traverse it, and I know that there's another side. And so it is my greatest honor to be able to pass on how sacred this life is, and helping people remember that God is a frequency that we can connect to, that our bodies are designed to align with. And it's actually not anything outside of you that'll get you there. It is all inside out. And we have the most amazing tools at our fingertips at all times. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you next time. Bye.